Welcome back to Turntable Guy. On the bench today we have a Quartz Direct Drive Pioneer fully automatic stereo turntable, model PL-950, so a PL-950. This is another flipper table, so this is just going to be one of my record dealer customers that buys a collection of records, and then usually the owners tend to toss in the turntable because they have no use for it anymore. And these guys, basically, they just want the records. They don't care about the turntables so much. They grab the turntables and they bring them here for quick service, make sure everything's functioning correctly. And then they unload them, because there is a lot more money in selling used records than there is in selling a used turntable. But I digress. Let's move on with the service here. So, like I said, this is a fully automatic turntable. It's not in bad condition. It's a little dirty, dusty as usual. What I want to do first is a quick checkup here to make sure everything's kind of working and get a rough idea what we got to do. These guys do not want to spend a lot of money on these tables. They basically want them checked out, lubricated if needed, and oh, I just noticed something here. Yeah, that doesn't look good. I have never seen Pioneer 5MC. Is this an MC stereo cartridge? Wow. Well, I'm going to say it's an MC since it says MC. But does it have a replaceable stylus? Looks like it comes off. I don't want to tug on it because I'm not familiar with this. So we've got red, we've got blue, we've got white. And we are missing green. And I've never seen the back end of the cartridge with the pinouts here all in one line like that. So never seen one of these before. And it's Pioneer branded. I don't know if they manufacture themselves. It's got a bent cantilever, no doubt about it. Interesting. It's really bent. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay, so we'll just put it back on for testing purposes right now. And see how it's working. So this one has got a couple, they're not sensors, these are mechanical switches. And if we lift this up, what these do is if you put a 7-inch record on, it depresses this tab here. Right, and then underneath there should be, yeah, right here. When these get depressed, it's going to push down on these like this, and it's going to tell the automatic arm where to stop, whether it's at the 12-inch size or the 7-inch size, based on what trips this little bar here. So let's see if that functions. I don't even know if I have a 7-inch record or not. Oh, and as I say that, I do. Okay. All right. So if I throw this on here, it should automatically know to move into here. So let's hit start. It's all mechanical, so really it shouldn't fail. Yeah, there you go. See? Perfect. So lined in. It should auto return. Okay, so that's a 7-inch size. Now, it doesn't select speed though, right? You got to do that yourself. Although this is a 33. Yeah, this is I just saw an interesting video on the battle between, I think it was RCA and Columbia, and how if you see like a 7-inch record like this with a small hole, that's usually a 33, and if it's got the big hole, it's a 45. And there was a battle back in the 40s. Did not know about that. That the 45 and the 33 speed was like a format war, which is kind of cool. Okay, so we put the 12-inch record on. Hit start. It should just come in and drop here, hopefully. Okay, good. So that's all working. Yeah, that needle shot. Okay. I don't think there's going to be a lot to do on this one, to be honest with you. We can't check for sound yet because of the cartridge. I'm going to recommend to the customer that he replaces the cartridge. Finding a needle for that is probably going to be a nightmare. So let's take off our platter and platter mat. We'll unplug the table. We'll put our dust cover back on. Lock the tone arm. I'm not taking off the counterweight. It looks like a bit of a pain in the butt there. It's pretty lightweight. It's all plastic. Definitely an 80s turntable. Lots of screws. I'll be right back. Okay, we got the bottom off here. Pretty typical 80s kind of design. All plastic. This is the whole auto return mechanism here. To service the motor, you're going to have to lift this up. So paper shields. What this is it's like a thin piece of cardboard, and then it's coated with aluminum or something. Excuse me, it's allergy season here. And you gotta be really careful when you're lifting this up, because pardon me, because there's a lot of stuff going on underneath here to get at the motor. So let's carefully do this. A lot of wires and gear. Like this is a tricky mechanism to get at the motor. So, and I'm sure it says you know, do not lubricate, because it's lifetime lubrication, which is a bunch of crap. Here's the quartz oscillator, the crystal. So we're not going to touch speed on this, because if it's quartz locked, you don't want to mess with speed, right? Unless for some reason it's not working. And you got to also be really careful, because as you can see here, what you got is a metal screw going into a plastic, into the plastic base. And if you over tighten these, you will crack the posts. Like you can hear when I put the screw on here, it really cracks when it lets loose. Don't like that sound. There's a ground over here on another piece of cardboard. Actually, it's the same piece of cardboard. It's just a shield for the tone arm wires. So you just move that, and then you can get this out of the way. That's what they use for shielding in the 80s. Just a piece of cardboard. Cost cutting had begun. Not to say that it's not a nice turntable. It's just that it's a product of its age, right? Okay, so like I said, before you start cranking this thing and removing stuff, you got to really have a peek and make sure. Okay, it looks like it's all one piece, and it's going to bring up the whole mechanism with it and this board. So I think we can just, I'm going to unplug this. Get that out of the way. And that's it. Okay, so it wasn't as difficult as it looks. I know it's hard to see from that angle, but here's that auto return mechanism here. It's pretty busy in there. There's the motor. I know it's off to the side. So just like any direct drive, just give it a tug. Okay, oh, it's an inverse. Okay, so this is an inverse bearing, which I don't like, because I really don't want this. I'm going to put this back down while I'm working on this. So instead of a spindle or an axle sitting inside a bearing well, The bearing well is in the rotor here. So it sits like this. So, you know, it's working against gravity. I don't like this design because whatever lubrication you have in here is going to naturally want to go down, right? When you're in a bearing pit, the oil stays down with gravity. And when the axle goes in, it fills, you know, it surrounds the axle with oil. So basically this is going to be sitting like this and the axle is going to come up into this. So you know full well that this oil is going to leak out. So anyway, it is what it is. We're going to service it. And how you service it is no different than anything else. There is oil in there. And it's just oil. It's not even a grease. Sometimes you'll see on an inverse bearing like this, sometimes you'll see that they used a grease because a grease will naturally be a lot thicker and it'll stay in place. Whereas an oil will have a tendency to flow with gravity, right? We're just going to clean that with a little bit of alcohol. I just removed the excess oil from inside first. I'm going to use a thicker oil for this. I usually use my oil for electric motors, but I think I'm going to go with a gear oil. Or 30, man, you know what? I think I'm going to go with a 30 weight non-detergent on this one. Okay, so that is clean. Now, again, it's kind of hard to work. Okay, there we go. So, as you can see, so this would be right side up, right? So, your lubrication is on there, and then your motor sits down. This is how it sits when it's playing a record. So, as you can see, naturally, gravity's going to want to pull it down, right? Okay, we're just going to give this a wipe. Okay. Now, just looking at this, if there's some kind of, you know, kind of like in a car's piston, there's the 3 piston rings that keep the oil from getting past the piston. I don't see anything down here, to be honest with you, but looks like the oil is kind of staying in place. But anyway, we're just going to put some 30 weight on here. This stuff is pretty viscous. Just like that. Okay, now it's going to go down. And we'll just put a drop inside here. And we'll put this back. Just like that. The thicker the oil that you use, the more difficult it is going to be to have the axle sit down, right? Or in this case, the axle go in. So, okay, so we'll just let that settle down. I'm just going to put the platter on it, let it naturally compress, and I'll be back. Okay, our rotor's gone down. Took about 5 minutes. I'm just going to flip this back. Pretty interesting design. There's your 7-inch, 12-inch record size selector. Never worked on one of these before. Just want to make sure everything's going back where it belongs here. Looks about right, I'm going to say, because this is our start-stop switch here. When you push this, this is the main actuator here that starts the motor and gets the ball rolling. Put our power connector back on. One thing we can clean here is our 3345 switch, hopefully. Very small. A little bit of access here. Just get a little cleaner in there. Very small access hole. Just work that a little bit. No pitch controls on this. Quartz lock. You don't have to worry about that. Good. All right. So when you're putting these screws back in the mechanism, like I mentioned, do not over tighten them. Do not use an electric screwdriver. Put them in by hand and do not crank them. As soon as it hits bottom, stop. No torque. Like I said, you will crack the posts that they go into, and that'll be bad news. Where the heck does this last one go? Here. Nope. Don't I feel like an ass? Here. There. Okay, I'll put this piece of crap back. All right, that's it. That's all we can do. Let me put the base back on, and we'll. Hey, we can't even do a sound test, I don't think, but I'll be right back. Well, we're back up on our feet here. I am going to, again, send the owner a message and see if he wants to install a new cartridge on this. We'll get a green wire installed, then I can do a sound test and all the rest of it. Set up the arm, no different than any other turntable. You're going to want to move your counterweight, if it does move. Yeah, it does. On the back here, there is an adjustment here. I'm thinking that's either for lead-in or auto-return. You got your typical anti-skating. Motor's running nice and quiet. If there's no record on there, it won't do anything. It will work as a manual turntable as well, or semi-automatic. And auto return. Other than that, not a whole lot to do here. Just notice there's a little bit of writing on here. DRA, I don't know what that means. Dynamic Resonance Action. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, that one wasn't very exciting. But if you've got one of these, at least now you know how to tear it apart, get at the motor. Other than that, there's not a hell of a lot to service on this thing, which I guess could be considered a good thing. Anyway. That's the Pioneer PL-950. I will be back. I've got a Pioneer real turntable, a Pioneer PL-950 to do. And another gentleman dropped off a wacky looking changer. I'm not sure if I'm going to video that one or not. We'll see. See how I feel. Anyway, okay, thanks for tuning in again, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. Later. Bye.